This is Openmike, and we are back here on the third segment of our program. And I want to say how fascinated I am, because I think the ambassador has been excellent in his response to many questions which I had for him. Now I'm going to touch on a very important subject, and that is of trade. And prior to coming on the show, I mentioned to the ambassador that many years ago, when we had the Cold War, the Reagan government was in power at the time. They gave the St. Lucia many concessions to allow us to open several factories, and they gave us so we could ship our clothing to the US. But unfortunately, after the Cold War, those concessions seemed to have disappeared. And it reminded me very much of what Sir John once said. He said, Americans have no friends, they only have allies. I consider France a bit different, but on that score, I feel, having discussed the matter with the ambassador, that there is room for expansion in trade. And I will let the ambassador highlight a couple areas of which we can pursue.
Thank you very much. I just want to say that I spoke at the beginning of this program about the trade, about the agreements between Regional Council of Martinique and also the government of St. Lucia, and also all what the government of France goes with St. Lucia. And it's easy to say we want to do something, but it's much more important to do something. So concretely. So what we are going to do is what are going to do the Regional Council of Martinique. It's to, with the St. Lucia, is to find out on each, about 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 types of products, what impedes these products to be sold in Martinique, what impedes them to be sold in France, in St. Lucia. So it means, what is the tax problem? Is it a problem with the tax? Because the tax are expensive,
very important, yeah.
Very important. So can we make an effort about the tax on these products to make them to be sold in Martinique or to make them to be sold in St. Lucia? Second problem, which is a very important problem also, is the problem of the rules, health rules and the health condition put by Martinique. Because we are involved with the European Union. Correct. And we have to obey to the European Union rules, and it's normal for the health of the population. We speak about health 5 minutes ago. So it's important to make sure what can be done by the producers, for example, farmers from St. Lucia.
Has a certain standard.
Yes, exactly. What can we help them to have a good standard to be sold in Martinique, and so on. So I think we are going to work about that, and maybe there will be a big progress on this field.
You see, that's a good question, and it's a tough question, because I have talked to many farmers who are struggling in St. Lucia, and what they say to me, look, we can barely exist, and when you tell us you have all these standards, we just can't do it. And again, it all boils down to education. Now, going back to the situation I spoke about, the type of service militaire, again, incorporated in that, we could have people who could go around to the farmers and explain to them the importance, because you have a lot of young people leaving school today who are better educated, who have no jobs. Now these can become, there's a stigma attached to agriculture these days. And we have to try to get over that, because the government can only provide so much work in St. Lucia, and people have to learn to become self-sufficient. And with that kind of what should I say, advice from somebody from your country or wherever it be, to coax them to move in that direction, because it is indeed the right direction. It will raise the level not only for Europe but for ourselves too, because even here at our supermarkets, it would be nice to know that when a man produces some food or whatever it is, it's done properly and it's done in a very hygienic manner, okay? Instead of the old-fashioned way of doing business, and where people remain despondent. And you see, that has it's a double-edged sword, because what happens in a case like that, if the people can improve their agricultural output here in St. Lucia, it will also address the unemployment situation, because this unemployment of something like 25 to 26% unemployment, it's a terrible situation. You see, unlike Martinique, because of the fact that you have the social programs and the social service, people get a certain amount of money, but they don't in St. Lucia. And you know, it's very, very difficult because a hungry man is an angry man. And you know, as you rightly said, referring to the other situations, we need to address the situation rather than talking about it, because it is something that's been said over and over, but we're doing nothing about it. And that's our responsibility in St. Lucia. But where your friend, the French, can come in is that to assist us in those areas and say, look at me, this is what's available, you know. If we can plant or grow something, we can actually sell it over there. I mean, for instance, look at what Taiwan has done for us. I mean, look at the tilapia, look at the orchids that are being sort of grown in St. Lucia. And regretfully, they did a beautiful job at Union, and I was very saddened a couple of weeks ago because I went there to see it. And when the Taiwan government was running it, it was in beautiful condition. It was handed over to the Ministry of Agriculture, and it's in a deplorable condition today, which is so sad. But again, this is where we lack the discipline, and we need to move forward on that. Yeah.
Well, I understand what you say, but I think the cooperation between Martinique and St. Lucia must be a cooperation win-win, you know. Yeah. And I think we have, you speak a lot, and it's normal, about the benefit you can retire from Martinique to help you. But I think we want also the benefit of St. Lucia for Martinique. We must be two for cooperation, you know. And I think you have many things to learn to us for a few topics, for tourism, for example. You speak about tourism. It's not only the money. When we travel in Martinique and when we travel here, I think the people of Martinique would be happy that you help them to have a better organization of hotels and welcome people and things. You have a really value add, you know, about your organization of tourism. And we have value add about agriculture. You are right. We have Institute of Research who are settled in Guadeloupe or Martinique. They can come here to help the agriculture, to make the agriculture better than now. CIRAD in Guadeloupe or Ifremer for the fish, and so on. You have university also of Antilles. You have many supports of research, and institute can help. But you can also help us. We have also the Gulf. The Gulf is a very important the meeting you can have together, because you have savoir-faire, as we say in French, special, because you have a private Gulf, and we have a public Gulf in Martinique, and I don't think the budget of the public Gulf in Martinique is as well as your Gulf here. Okay. But our Gulf in Martinique has also the engineering and things that could be improved. So I think we have a cooperation on the two fields. Everybody can win.
Yeah, but you are so right, because really and truly, I mean, I go to Martinique and I know, I mean, you have a high-class hotel, but if I take generally, our hotels, generally, I would think our hotels, we have a better hotel industry than you in Martinique here in St. Lucia, because by nature, thank goodness, St. Lucians here are actually very wonderful people. And our feedback from every hotel on the island is that the reception which they get from our staff, not only at our hotel, but all over, is wonderful, and many people come back here. And I mean, I don't mean to be critical, but when they go to Martinique, for instance, they say they cannot say the same. So there's one area that they can actually can learn from our situation.
Exactly.
But you know, the thing is this, that the advantage that St. Lucia had, though it's a disadvantage in one sense, it's an advantage in another. Being independent, we've had to stand on our own for the last 30 years, whereas, you know, you're being supported by somebody in France. And it's not the same. It's like a spoiled child. So the independence side of it, even though we are, is it does help tremendously, you know. Yeah. But you know, you talk about also the trade, and as I was mentioning to you a while ago, when we were doing all the clothing for the United States, we had something like between 3,000 to 6,000 people working. Yeah. And I know France buys a lot of their stuff from all the different countries in the world. So, and they go to those countries because the labor cost is that much less. So it is something that maybe when our Prime Minister is next in Martinique or having his meeting, it's something he should focus on, whereby they could revisit, because we have about 6 or 7 empty factory shells already here, and we could get in the stuff and start that. There are some people still that understand what they were doing, and if we could revive that here, these are the areas we need to focus on. So This is Open Mic, and we're just coming to the end of the third segment of our program, and we'll be right back.